So, Mercedes are finally back on Motability. I can't remember exactly how long they were away for. I think it was around 2 years or something like that. And first of all, I want to say thank you to KR and Scott Z for telling me about Mercedes being back on the scheme. I did ask Mercedes to call me. They said they would, and they didn't. That's the first bit of bad customer service that I've had from them in 10 years, so I'll allow it, you know. I'm actually not getting a Mercedes as it stands. I'm in the process of getting my new car. I'll talk more about that in another video. I want to focus specifically on Mercedes for now. So, even though I'm not getting a Mercedes, I'm actually really happy because it means that more people, more disabled drivers potentially, could have access to driving cars that they might, if they can't drive regular standard vehicles, like is the case with myself. With my car that I'm in the process of getting, I'm actually having it adapted to drive like a Mercedes. And if you're new to my videos, the unique selling point of a Mercedes is that the gears are on the right hand side of the steering wheel, so you're driving like this, and reverse, park and drive for automatic transmission is on the right hand side of the steering wheel as standard for all of their models across the board. And if you have a condition like for me, I have cerebral palsy affecting the left side of my body, so it means that I don't have to use my left arm at all. I can keep it to the right hand side of my body. There are other electric cars on the scheme now, the VW ID series. I think the ID3 and 4 are the ones that are on the scheme at the moment. They have the gears over here, but they're electric, and again, in my circumstances, and maybe for you as well, an electric car might not be practical for you. So Mercedes are the only manufacturer that offer these kind of controls with a petrol or diesel engine. There's 5 cars on the scheme. There's the GLA, the CLA, the CLA Estate, the A-Class, and the EQA. Now, I've actually driven 3 out of these 5. I'm going to talk about those in a second. I'm just going to make a few remarks about the ones that I haven't driven first. So the GLA is an A-Class, but basically on stilts, so higher up off the ground. If I was to choose a car now from these 5 cars, I would probably go with the GLA because, like I said, it's higher up off the ground, and for me that's more practical because I'm quite tall, and it makes getting in and out of the car a lot easier if the car is higher off the ground. The EQA is the other one that I haven't driven, again because electric cars isn't really practical for me at the moment. The same way that the GLA is an A-Class on stilts, I presume that the EQA is an A-Class but electric, right? So all of these cars are a variation of the A-Class. So I'm going to talk about the A-Class that I had. I got it around 10 years ago. Well, no, exactly 10 years ago I got this car. It was a 2014 plate. I was choosing my next Motability car, and I was driving around an area where there's loads of showrooms with one of my friends, and he was like, oh, why don't you try Mercedes? And I'm like, oh no, that'll be out my budget surely. And he's like, no, try, see what it's like. So I drove in, and to my great surprise, the A-Class at the time was only £500 deposit, advance payment. So I went for it, and I got an A-Class. That was 10 years ago, and since then I haven't been away from Mercedes because, like I said before, there's no other product like it. No other car offers the gears on the right hand side with a petrol engine as standard across the board. It makes driving so easy. It's incredible, honestly. I don't take many photos, and I save even less of them. And I was looking back through my photos yesterday night to get prepared for this video, and I forgot that my A-Class even had like little racer kind of stripes on it, which was pretty cool. And just the interior and just the overall level of Mercedes in general, even with their entry car, the A-Class, it's a level above most of the other manufacturers. It's Mercedes, what would you expect? But yeah, it's you get a very, very, very good product even at the baseline with all of these A classes that we're going to look into more thoroughly. After my 3-year lease was up, I decided I'm definitely going to stick with Mercedes. I know that because it's so simple to drive, like I said. And so my options at the time were I could get another A class for around, I think it was $750. The CLA, which is one of the cars on the scheme at the moment, for $1,500. And there was the option to get a C class as well. I ended up getting the C class. You've probably seen one of my older videos with the interior of it and me saying about why it's so amazing. When I was choosing the C, I thought to myself, the CLA looks incredible. It looks amazing, and looks wise, that's the one I want. But the C is better in every other area. It's a smoother ride. The sound system was incredible. When I chose the car, they were like, you can choose what paint you want. And then also with your interior, you can choose your interior to contrast with the paint or not. It's like you can choose black paint and cream interior, or black paint and black interior. And then do you want the speakers to be black or silver? It was the level of choice you get, even on the Motability Scheme with the C, was incredible. I don't think they have these options for the A classes, but I may be wrong. I actually decided I'm going to pay double the price for the fact of it being a better car all round. The reason I decided to pay double is because paying for a premium product and me having the experience of having that product for the amount of time is way, way, way more important than how I'm perceived by people looking at my car and how it looks to other people. So I decided, yeah, it's actually worth double the money to have the actual better product. I definitely made the most out of that car. So many amazing road trips with all of my friends. The first one was probably the best with Tinkerbell. I kept it for 6 years. I know that typically you're only meant to keep a car for 3 years, but I think that by the time my 3-year period was up, Mercedes had actually gone off the scheme at that point. So I always made the argument, hey, show me another vehicle that drives like a Mercedes, and there isn't on the scheme, right? There was nothing. So they gave me many 6-month extensions, and it got to the point where they were saying like, oh, we don't know if we're going to actually be able to give you another one, so we're going to have to look into your options again. That's when I made the videos a year and a bit ago where I was talking about all of the gear sticks and that. So I went and looked again, and like I said, there's the VW IDs, but they're electric, not petrol. So there still wasn't anything on the market until they returned, which is why I'm so grateful and why I'm making this video. I probably would have gone for another 6-month extension, but then someone crashed into it while it was in its parking space, which I've spoken about before. Here's a couple of pictures. Not a nice thing to experience, but that's life. Sometimes life's saying, hey, you've got to move on from this thing onto the next, right? So that's what happened, and shout out to Enterprise for being very quick and very swift with their customer service, because they said, hey, we're the ones that are going to be supplying your courtesy car while this car is getting sorted out. And they said, do you require any adaptations? I said no, but I do need a car with the gears on the right hand side, and the only car that has those is Mercedes, so I do need a Mercedes. And Enterprise were very swift, like I said. They bought a Mercedes within a day or something, literally, like, here you go, here's the brand new Mercedes. And the one they gave me was actually a CLA, the one that I wanted 6 years before. And again, it looks really sexy, right? It's awesome looking. And it was actually really fun experience to drive. This was a 220D, I believe. And I pushed it. I really pushed it a lot. It was meaner and more aggressive than the C class. The A class is like a little swift A to B kind of gets the job done kind of car. A nice ride. The C is a completely different experience. It's like literally a luxury cruising vehicle. It's incredible. It's in another league. The A classes and the CLA. The CLA for me is just a fancy A class, and it's been stretched out and chiseled to make it look like a mean vehicle, and to make it look aggressive, right? And look sexy and fancy, whatever word you want to use, right? When I was debating getting the CLA, the Mercedes salesman, his name was Nigel, he was great. He was very honest, and he said, like, word for word, like, there's no difference between the A and the CLA in performance. The only different thing is the exterior. That's the only difference between an A and a CLA. And that's coming direct from a former Mercedes salesman. The interior in the CLAs has improved a lot over the years, though. I will say that I think I got one picture of the interior of my CLA, and ambient lighting, they definitely didn't have that before. That wasn't on my C class either, but I would still say that the C interior on my 2017 C, the interior is still better than these current CLAs. But the CLAs, I mean, you can look at the picture, it's very, very nice interior. My lease on the white CLA had actually expired, so I had to renew my lease again, and that's when I got this black CLA that I'm currently driving around now. The black CLA Estate. This is actually a 250E, and I presume that the higher the number, the more powerful the car, right? But this black CLA 250E is a hybrid. The 220D, the white one, that was a petrol engine, and even though this CLA has a higher number with 250, the 220D was actually more powerful and way more aggressive. The A-Class feels compact and tight, and like I was saying, the CLA feels squashed, and it's kind of like a frail kind of ride. Maybe that's too harsh of a word, but it's a little bit jittery. It's not smooth because it's an A that's transformed to look nice. I feel like, and I've driven these cars, remember, I feel like that the CLA is a less comfortable ride in my experience than the A-Class, and also it's lower down to the ground, so it's harder to get in and out of, and also, I've said before in other videos, but it doesn't have the pull thing, so you can't like lift yourself out of the car if you need to, and there's no top of the window, the door. Sorry, there's no top of the door. It's just the glass from the window which ends, so you can't really hold on to that very securely as well if you need to help yourself out of the car, right? So, as a disabled man, or a physically challenged man, as I like to call it, as a physically challenged man, you need to consider these things. It's like, if you're gonna spend money on a thing, yeah, it looks sexy, but like, is it practical? That's the thing. Does it make your life easier? You know, and I would say that a CLA looks amazing, but I wouldn't recommend getting one. Whether it be the CLA or the CLA Estate. With the Estate, I haven't made use of the boot yet, so I haven't really had any kind of good way to analyse how good the boot is. The main thing, the difference between my CLA and my CLA E was actually that my CLA has a sunroof, and I don't know if that's an option on the Motability cars because I haven't checked thoroughly yet, but a sunroof is an experience on itself. It's like that's a nice extra to have, right? It's not, I wouldn't call it a determining factor, and that's where I'm at the moment. My next service on this black CLA is actually due right at the end of the month, so I'm probably going to get another Mercedes, so stay tuned for that, because it's more likely that I'm going to have another Mercedes before I get my next Motability car at this rate. And again, I will also talk about that in another video. But I hope that my story about my different cars that I've driven over the years has given you an insight into helping you decide on some of the qualities of each of these cars that are on the scheme now. And I hope that you think about your decision and really plan these things out before you decide on buying a vehicle. Like, even if it's not a Mercedes, like, go and look and figure out all of the unique selling points from all of your options, and then decide on which one is the best one to suit your needs and which one is the most practical and the best for you.
And always remember,
life is good, but it can be better.